What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another episode of Cut the Crap. I'm your host, Christian, here with my two favorite guys, no homo, no diddy. The guy Rex and Steven. How's it going today, Steven?
I'm good. Over here fact checking you.
Fact checking me. All right, I appreciate it. And Rex?
Did you say I'm gay? I'm just here fact checking you.
Oh no, I was talking about the other thing that we were talking about before we got on I mean, all right. I guess I ain't even. All right.
Oh,
That's
man.
funny. But me, I'm good. Your boy turned the big 3-0. So,
Whoop,
you know.
whoop. Celebration time.
So we had to do some things, right? So we got a little change. Your boy got a haircut. I didn't go bald.
Shit.
Fuck you thought.
What?
Fuck you thought. Fuck you thought. Your boy
Well,
just
let
got
me
a
see.
fresh one. Come
Bro.
on, the 3. Oh, the 3-6. I'll give you. I'll give you.
Oh, bro, I thought you were bald for real.
No, I didn't.
You gotta let it go. You gotta let it go, homie.
I still got some time. I still have time.
Look at you. Look at you. Way to take off that Marlins hat.
Man,
Represent New York with the shirt.
Matt-
Keep that New York shirt on.
You already know. You already know.
This man about to have the Yo Gotti hairline a little bit.
Damn.
It's making the transition from here to here. If I showed you baby pictures, bro, I had hair for days.
Everybody had hair. He had hair for days when he was a baby.
Yeah,
Then
but I
he
should
hit
never cut
20
that
and
shit.
that shit fell out. It was done.
Nah, I should have never cut that shit.
Oh,
Anywho,
man.
but other than that, yeah, no, things have been
doing
good.
good?
Things have been good. Yeah,
You're doing good. That's good to hear. I'm glad to hear everybody's doing good. We're just going to jump into it. Before we get into today's topic that we talked about last week, we're going to talk about this week. I wanted to ask you guys, what do you guys think about all this hype with Caitlin Clark and the WNBA? If you haven't heard, this is what Diana Taurasi, I believe is how you say her last name, said. Take a listen to this.
Yeah.
Reality is coming.
Okay.
There's levels to this thing, and that's just life. We all went through it.
Of course.
And you see it on the NBA side, and you're going to see it on this side, where you look superhuman playing against 18-year-olds, but you're going to come with some grown women that have been playing professional basketball for a long time. Not saying that it's not going to translate, because when you're great at what you do, you're just going to get better. But there is going to be a transition period where you're going to have to give yourself some grace as a rookie. You know, it might take a little bit longer for some people.
She's doing shots out there at Caitlin Clark, you know. She's letting people know your expectations of her. You know, you guys are going a little overboard. But, you know, me personally, I don't know if you guys heard, 15.2. 15.2. Do I dare say million or billion? I can't remember. It was million or billion watching the finals. And the NCAA, it was millions. Okay, I couldn't remember which one it was. I was like, millions sound crazy, so it had to be millions. Yeah. But that's the record for all of men and female Final Four championship game.
Really?
That was a record.
I see it. Yep, makes sense. It makes the most sense. It makes the absolute most sense. Because for a while, I don't know if anybody else has heard, like, I think we might have touched upon this, between the different gyms, between like the men and the women, and they were like posting it like on X, you know, months ago.
Hold on.
So this,
Nah, I'm listening. I just gotta, Christian, if you clarify the viewership. I'm sorry, Rex, to interrupt. I'm just trying to.
You're good.
So you're saying it's the most watched NCAA game ever?
It was the most watched ever, they said on ESPN. I just pulled it up here too. It is 15.2 million. What
I'm seeing is for the first time ever, the NCAA men's basketball final had fewer viewers than the women's. That's what I'm seeing.
Well, I think.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Rex.
No. I was gonna say that would also be very true because mainly a lot of it was about the men, right? Like a lot of the popularity, right? It's a popularity contest. We all know this, right? Like who's ever getting the most talks is going to get the most likes, is going to get the most views, right? You have Caitlin Clark that's giving very remnants of Steph Curry. I don't know if y'all watched the game against South Carolina, but she was throwing them things. Now, mind you, they should have played a lot more defense. South Carolina did great by letting the forwards run the paint. But again, just on the sense of Caitlin Clark, they were throwing it up, and she was knocking it down. Oh my God, I forgot one of the center for South Carolina, but
the big girl, yeah, she was doing her
yeah,
thing. She was doing her
but
thing.
again, essentially, when we talked about like Steph Curry, Anthony Edwards. Basically, we would watch the NCAA Final Four for March to see who's going to be the next people coming into the NBA. Now, in a long time where it's switched, now we're watching the women's and talking about more about who's going to go into the WNBA, right? Because there's a lot more storyline, or I guess a lot more people were more open to listen and follow the storylines of Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese and
They set it
Juice
up.
Watson, right? So like not only for the people that are leaving now to go to the WNBA, but for the future, right? Like I'm pretty sure a bit of I think 2 out of 3, or no, 3 out of this 3 out of the starting lineup for South Carolina should be within the top 5 for the WNBA draft. So
Yeah, I mean it's gonna be a great draft. It's gonna be a great draft. And I just pulled it up again. Sorry, this is from Forbes. This is where I read it from. I thought it was ESPN. This is Forbes. Here it says this marked the first time in history that women's college basketball championship audience, which was estimated at 18.7 million on ABC and ESPN, was larger than any of the men's championship ever held. And that's from Forbes.com.
We might have to double
I
check
send y'all that
them
link.
because Forbes would be kind of sketchy.
That sounds better. I'm about to just be that guy.
We need to still
Bro,
double check.
you guys really have me. You guys really have me prologuing my dinner to talk about the WNBA, dog. Nah,
Man, you're not.
Christian, this was
You're
your
not
big
gonna. This
reveal.
doesn't
Nah,
excite you. You don't think this will?
bro, this is women's basketball. Like you remember the conversation that we were having? I don't know if it was the last podcast. That even the worst NBA player ever, undrafted, who plays on the basketball court, in the NBA is closer to LeBron James than they are to us, like in skill level. Like I feel like women's basketball is the only one where like they take a step down in quality going to the like. I just find it more exciting the NCAA, the women's, than the WNBA, bro. WNBA is trash. I'm sorry, I just gotta say it, bro. I try and I can't.
I think they're missing what is coming to now is just a little bit more attention because there's only so much they can do, right?
Yeah.
Like everybody's like, oh, they should dunk, oh, they should do this. Oh, it's like you're right, they could, right? Those are good things to people like, oh, lower the rim for sure, but just actually just giving them attention and that side of the sport, like the proper attention, like there's probably a lot of talent that would go was it under the radar because just the lack of attention. I look at like sports in Canada, there's a lot of Canadian athletes that would, and I say this with the utmost confidence, would dog walk a lot of athletes in the States. But it's just because Canada, it's a lottery system. Like it's crazy that you guys like named an NFL athlete, right? That you went to school with, whatever, for sure. But I have like a handful of people that I could tell you from different places in my province that were close or didn't make it or didn't go the full way, maybe make it to college or did something and like that's it. But like their story ends there, So I guess maybe speaking from somebody that understands that if you got a little bit more attention, like people wouldn't be or shouldn't be as surprised. It should be just like a normalized thing. But again, I think just with like the lack of, exposure, um, now people are just like, oh, like this, but it's like, no, like they've been killing it, and people just aren't paying attention, right? There's a lot of diamonds in the rough, and it's just, unfortunate what we, as people decide to focus a lot of our attention on. So I think it also boils down to that.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. All right. Well, I'm excited. Like I said, they're calling Caitlin Clark the next Steph Curry of the WNBA. As you saw, she did have a face off with him in the All-Star game, and she lit it up. So it's gonna be exciting either way. I know Steven's not happy about it. He don't care. He's against women playing sports. He thinks they should stay. They should shut up and cook.
I
Right?
never,
What is that?
I
LeBron said, "Shut up
never
and
said
dribble,"
that.
and then you're
Yo,
like, "Shut up and cook."
yo, women's FIBA tournaments is fire. Like the NCAA college basketball fire. I don't know what it is. Just to jump to their domestic leagues, it's fucking garbage.
Man.
Like,
All right. Well,
bro,
WNBA, you need to fix it. Get it right. Stephen may watch if you get it right, he said.
nah, man. You even see some of them European teams, bro. It'd be a little bit more exciting, man.
For sure,
I
but
don't know what it
but they
is.
get the rightful attention. Like European ball's amazing. People over here are like, "Oh, you're gonna go to Europe to ball?" Like, look at Lamelo. Like, you look at Luca. You look at the people that come. They call that grown man basketball. You're playing up against guys that are smoking cigarettes 5 minutes before tip off. Right? These are grown, European stout men that they're going against, right? So like it's just a different energy. China, it's a huge wave out there. It's just that when sometimes you're stuck in your corner of things, you're like, oh, this is the best. Or they make the jokes like, a player does something bad and they get a text from the Shanghai Dragons. I believe that's like it's a 2K reference, right? Of like, the NBA 2K made up team that hit you up saying like, hey, we want you. Like, that's how ass you are. But like, all jokes aside, like, it's serious. Like, you think Steph Curry and all those guys would be going out there, solidifying basketball if it wasn't serious in those places? It's like, no. It's just that the WNBA just had a lack of attention, and now again, with the thanks to social media, you got like a good handful of people that will be able to maintain that and have their own set of fans coming in, and they just have to build from there. You know what I mean? Like, NBA draft, like, excuse me, WNBA draft is being talked about. Like, I just think now that they're getting, the duly attention like deserved, like, people are just gonna be more enlightened that, like, they've always had. It's just that they just didn't get that focus that they should have gotten.
Got it. Got it. All right. Well, switching subjects real quick, going to a completely different thing. We kind of touched about it last week, but really couldn't talk about it. Apple is being sued by the Justice Department for monopolizing smartphones, right?
Shout out
And
Fortnite.
and here's a little thing right here from the state attorney, what he had to say. Take a listen.
The Department of Justice, joined by 15 states and the District of Columbia, sued Apple in the U.S. District Court for the District of New Jersey for violating Section 2 of the Sherman Antitrust Act.
All right. And then he goes on to say,
Apple has engaged in many of the same tactics that Microsoft used. Apple's anti-competitive conduct discourages developers from offering new and innovative applications and makes it more difficult for consumers to switch to other smartphones.
all right. Now, Steven, I know you're really big into Apple with me as well. And, we've had this conversation before. Like, what? Them comparing it to Microsoft, and when the government sued Microsoft over 25 years ago, for people that don't know or wasn't born yet at that time, when Microsoft came out, it was strictly Internet Explorer. You couldn't really get anything else. Then they, even iTunes couldn't even be downloaded on. Like, it was that strict. Then finally they went ahead, sued them. They won the case, and they saying because of that, that's what made Apple become even more popular, to be able to download iTunes and the store on Windows computers and all that. And I think that's a bunch of bullshit, but what do you got to think on that, Steven?
I agree. It's just stupid because I mean nobody's forcing you to use an iPhone. It's Apple's product. It's engineered for how they want it to. You could always go to an Android device.
Exactly. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is my thing. All right, they're saying like I watched the full interview and everything like that, and I only clipped certain parts of it, but you know, pretty much they're saying that it's not fair. You know, it started with Fortnite. Fortnite started it with they don't think it's fair that Apple takes 30% of in-game purchases from them. So what they did was
Yeah,
they shut that down and they said, hey, to buy Fortnite V-Bucks or whatever they're called, you have to buy them now through their website. And they won't get charged more. They like dropped the price to $7.99, I think, instead of the $9.99. It's like, hey, you go to our website for $7.99, you could get your V-Bucks. And, you know, it's kind of underhanding Apple. Apple caught a fit about it, blah, 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 rights, this and that. Then it started off then now, you know, with WeChat and all these other app developers that are not being able to get on the App Store because of certain guidelines Apple has. You know, they complain that Samsung watches don't work the same on Apple devices. And in my mind, I'm like, you know, Apple built this platform, right? Apple has this beautiful ecosystem that for some reason or another, when you get into it and you get addicted to it, you know, you're stuck in it. You know, for instance, for me, my whole family is in the Apple ecosystem. Outside my kids, my mom, even my grandma is in the Apple ecosystem. So like, if I were to try to leave the Apple ecosystem, I wouldn't be able to really do FaceTime that much with them. I wouldn't be able to do half the stuff I'm able to do with them. You know, it makes it easier. Apple makes everything easier by being in their ecosystem. So granted, yes, Samsung watches are not going to work the same because it's made by Samsung. You know, you want a Samsung watch to work perfectly nice, go get a Samsung phone. You know what I mean? You have other options, but I think it's ridiculous what they're doing. I think Apple is not a monopoly, personally. And I think fucking people just need to stop crying a river, you know, build a bridge and cross over it. And that face, I'll let you go, Rex, because that face you just made. You think Apple is a monopoly?
Duh. The fuck? How are they not monopoly? There's an Apple tag.
no.
There's an iPhone. There's an Apple Watch.
But there's
what else?
There's other devices out there that have that.
Correct.
Bro.
And you like the things that I showed you,
Yes.
right? So these things that I showed you are from Apple for Apple products to be worked. Now the things that are being argued again, fuck Fortnite, but shout out to Fortnite, is the discrepancy of how they handle things. So you may not think that they're a monopoly, but when Fortnite is on Xbox, PC, PlayStation, Nintendo Switch, it's on certain phones, right? And then you have gaming's on phones. Gaming is separate from that. There's no Apple exclusive unless you have the Apple Arcade, but we all know about that, correct?
Right.
Yeah. So when you have a game that's accessible to all platforms outside of the Apple and Samsung or Xbox and Microsoft and Sony, where do they get the right to upcharge on the iPhone extra dollars because they downloaded a free game from the Apple store that has other products that is ultra neutral to other places, right? So the whole beef is that they're making exclusive things that are not exclusive, right? Like the whole cool part about Apple was the Apple ecosystem was that you would get the iPhone, you have iCloud, and then you would transfer over that simple life. I agree with the app. I agree with the watch for sure. There's certain things that shouldn't be compatible, definitely. But just to connect your watch, maybe see the time. Cool. They should be able to give you that. There's been cases where Apple has also forced people to move up in phones by downgrading phones to a point where it is unusable, and it's been proven, because they could easily, as they stop making or obsolete certain units to get certain updates. But why don't they do that with phones? It's because they want you to update your phone. They want you to leave it on so that you can then get a slow phone and then be like, I need a new iPhone. So again, why they're a monopoly is because they are bullying people in spaces that are supposed to be mutual, right? What you can find in the Apple Store can be found in the Play Store unless it's strictly exclusive to the product's item. Fortnite and a lot of these other things aren't exclusive to one item or one group. So then why do they have to get bullied or forced into a position where then they have to now pay somebody extra to do nothing, right? The Apple Store has always been there. So why do they now get to have a little increase on taxes because someone's using their services to buy something through them? You don't pay extra money on your phone bill to Apple, do you, when you pay your phone bill? You don't pay anything extra on other bills when you use your phone. So why is it different with that?
It depends on the carrier. Verizon offers 5G, but to like get the ultra wide 5G, you have to pay an extra $10 for having a smartphone or any type of smartphone, Android or iPhone. They do charge you extra fee for having that on Verizon. And Sprint used to do the same back in the days as well.
So Verizon will charge you more for using a smartphone?
Yeah. If you want to take full capability of all the high-end internet speed, you pay additional $15, and then there's additional $10 called a smartphone fee for having an Android phone or an iPhone.
But that's the phone company. Apple is not being like, hey, it's a shit
but
phone
you said
company.
no, you don't see anybody else doing that. I was saying, that's why I was like,
oh, okay, apologies.
In the sense of, they do that.
Yeah, in the sense of like, well, like what Apple's doing is a bad practice, right? Like you have a platform where things can be accessed on different platforms, right? PC, Google, wherever. But they're in-game currency. So it's like they're being paid like middleman, right? You're paying, $10 for V-Bucks, right? As you should be. Why does Apple now get to add extra taxes that they get? It's not taxes that then go wherever. It's extra taxes that they get that then gets divvied up.
Yeah, 30%.
That's
so
where
out of the $10, they got $3 of it.
Yeah, but they're upping it. So it's like it's more. That's why that's why when Epic did it, it was at a lesser price. Like you didn't have to pay exactly that 30%. If it's V-Buck is 1,000 V-Bucks is equivalent to $1. So you should be paying $10 or whatever the monetary value, because in Canada we pay a little bit more. So I know it's 7, but it would just end up rounding up to basically $10. But you shouldn't be paying more, and I shouldn't be paying almost $20 for something that's $10 because it's on Apple, right? When I could just either go on to my computer or an Xbox or a PlayStation. Why does Apple get to do that? You know what I mean? It's like the devices I can agree to a certain extent, and then it's kind of scummy with the obsolescence and forcing certain updates on older models. For sure, that is a scummy practice. But again, the main point is why does Apple get to charge more for essentially doing nothing?
Steven, I'm gonna let you go before I say what I gotta say, because you had your hand up and you've been patiently waiting.
I was just gonna say about we also are about the whole charging extra to use their network. We're also the public that we have subsidized cellular networks via our taxes, and yet we're charged to use it, and we've already paid for it. So that's funny. A lot of other places don't do that, but it's why we have really, really good cell phone in the United States compared to a lot of places.
All right.
On a widespread, not in the metro area.
Yeah.
I get you. So here's my answer to you. Why they have to play. personally, it's their house, it's their rules, it's their store. You want to come in, you want people to access it in a worldwide. I mean, you get on the App Store, you got access to millions of people that have it. Now, granted, Apple is not the only company that does that. You know, Google does this as well. Now, they do it on a different scale. If your app revenue is less than $1 million US each year, they only charge you 15% service fee for all in-app purchases. And then if your revenue is over or excess of $1 million a year, it's a 30% for earnings in excess. So they're not the only ones doing it, right? And I feel like they're picking on it. It all started because of Fortnite. Honestly, and again, I'm still kind of new to Fortnite. I play sometimes with my kids. You know, I played it with you a couple of times. I'm not really heavy into it though, but, and I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. Fortnite probably wouldn't have been as big as it was until Apple, when it got on the App Store, because everybody, I feel like was playing on their iPad. And again, I could be wrong. That's why I said, correct me if I'm wrong. That's what I just saw. You know, again, I didn't know Fortnite back then. I found out about it when my kids started playing on their iPads. So
I'll tell you what, Fortnite in the first year was console, like excluding phones. Then they opened up cross-platform, and then they opened up to the phones, where like you could play it on your phone basically. So for a while it was just like gaming consoles, and then they're like, oh, like you can, they found a way that you could play it on your phone. So Fortnite was out for at least 2 to 3 years before mobile Fortnite like was a thing. And just the thing with like, the funny thing about Fortnite is, or Epic Games in this regard, is that they did what Apple did back in the 90s or the early or whatever. They like, Apple had the same issue. If you saw that commercial where that person was in that like black and white whatever place, I think it was against IBM, and they like threw what is it, like an apple or something like at like the glass, and it broke. It's like an old like Apple commercial, and it was like for them like standing against this kind of tyranny, and now they themselves are now doing it. Well, let me see if I can find it.
So now I just looked up, and this is coming from businessofapps.com. Epic Gaming said when Apple suspended them from the App Store, they lost 37% of their revenue. That, to me, that's a big chunk. You know, so to that, and that, this is why I remember seeing something like this, and that's why I just looked it up. This is why I felt like Apple kind of really helped them out. You know, that's a $1.2 billion gap that they lost once Apple suspended their stuff. So again, if it was bigger than it was, I mean, it probably was. It's only 32%, but 1.2 billion in my eyes is still a lot of money to lose.
One hand washes the other, and absolutely, for sure, that's money that's on the table that will never get pulled, for sure. Yeah. But like,
could you figure what's that 1.2 billion, and out of Apple getting 30%? What is that like? Boy, can't even fucking do the math on that. Times 30%.
So that Apple commercial or Macintosh commercial, it was during the 1984.
Oh, when they did the throw the hammer.
Super Bowl. Yep. Yeah. And that's what that commercial is about. So that commercial, Apple was Epic, and now Epic is now Apple, which is pretty funny. They also made like a whole Fortnite skin, with like the Apple like being all black and white and being like this, controlling future, right? So it's just interesting. It's just interesting how the tables have turned, right?
It is. Steven, you're awfully quiet there, my good man.
Well, I don't think it's a monopoly. Like AT&T was a monopoly because there was one company for long distance, and when they tried a competitor, they would shut them down or sue them. Like that was a monopoly. There's other cell phone devices.
Yeah, I think the government is reaching with this too. I mean, again,
I think it's hidden well because a lot of these companies just buy out each other and then run on each other's networks. So it's a loophole right? Where like over here we got like, you know, our main people like Rogers, Bell, but then you have your smaller companies like Fido, Virgin, and you just find out that they're using the bigger companies, like they're just renting them. They don't duopoly them, right, or monopoly, because they're letting them use their services, but they get it at a fixed rate, not the same power, right, not the same speed.
Yeah, we have that here. We have
so
that
yeah,
here, like
because I know T-Mobile and Sprint, like they clicked up or something like that.
Yeah. T-Mobile bought
so it's
Sprint.
Like, yeah, right. So it's just like these. It's like little things like that where they won't say it to your face that we're duopoly or we're a monopoly, but like you're doing that shit, right? I just think it's like I said, for me, why I keep bringing up Fortnite was because Epic Games, one of the directors, I believe, his name is Todd Sweeney, he said that he knew that they were going to lose this case because of how they started it, because they knew that what they did was really a polarizing move, like a move that wasn't supposed to be like, we're gonna win this in court. Like this was like, this is supposed to start the change, to show people that you know, you don't have to be afraid, and you can also step up to the big monsters in the sales world.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a lot of it was for, because even he, like he said it himself in a tweet that, you know, he knew we weren't going to win. This was all to help get the motion started, and then months later down the line, other people are now coming out and saying this. All right, so it's only a matter of time. Like nothing big will happen, I think. I just think that like they'll just move the goalposts, but it's just something that, like, again, they definitely started the wave on. So that was pretty interesting, because they got a lot of people talking about Apple and, you know, just letting people know like their business practices, whether you want to believe that they're good or not, at least that it's out there for public consumption and public knowledge, so that people can really you know, make that decision for themselves.
Yeah. Now, before we close it out, I just want to let you guys know this lawsuit is going to take some time. The U.S. government goes on to say at the end of this interview, I didn't record this, but they said this is not going to be a quick process. It's going to be kind of like how when they did Microsoft over 25 years ago. It's probably going to be anywhere from 3 to 5 years, they're saying, before anything is heard and what might end up happening. Apple is ready for battle. They keep saying they are not a monopoly. They're going out with press statements on it, and you know, we're going from there. So let us know what you guys think. Like always, we love to hear your feedback in the comments. Send us a message. You know how to reach us. You can email us at cutthecrap with 2 P's 1 at gmail.com. So that's CUTTHECRAPP1 at gmail.com. Send us a message on Facebook, Instagram, Discord, TikTok, Twitter. We're all over the place there as well. And if you have our personal numbers, feel free to reach out to us there. Also, let us know what you think about the WNBA. Are you guys excited to see Caitlin Clark and Angela Reese move up to the WNBA and debut their talents up there? You know, what are you looking forward to? Do you think this is something that's going to spice it up and get more viewership? Or is this just going to be a flop and, you know, people get excited and then once they get there after 1 year, they stop watching? So we'll see what happens. Or should they just shut up and go cook like Steven says? Just kidding.
I did not say
Did
that.
not say
Who
that.
the fuck said that?
I had to say something to get him to smile over there. No, he didn't say that, guys. I'm just messing around. But yeah, let us know what you think. We'd love to hear your feedback. Like always, till next week, you guys have a wonderful rest of your week. Peace.